A minute now.
I'm shutting everything down on my Mac that could
There we go.
possibly.
Hey everyone, and welcome to PressCast episode. I want to say 4. Is that right?
Sounds good.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
week with me is Nathan, Paul, and Wendy. We're going to be talking about building an email list and building the email list for your business and for your customers, and what we use and how we like to do it. Just before we jump in, Nathan, Paul, and Wendy, why don't you introduce yourselves? Starting with Nathan.
Hello, my name's Nathan Wrigley. I work in the north of the UK. I work for myself for a company called pictureandword.uk, and we specialise in Drupal, WordPress, and Magento installations.
Paul, you say hello.
Yeah, hi, I'm Paul Cowan. I'm based in the Netherlands. My company is WP Website Today. We build exclusively WordPress websites worldwide, and we also do a lot of integrations of databases and e-commerce systems.
Fantastic. Wendy.
My name is Wendy. I also live in the Netherlands, and my business is called Website Club. And I help people who are scared of computers do their own website with
Fantastic.
WordPress.
With WordPress, of course, yeah. It sounds like me. I'm pretty scared of my computer at the moment. And I am Mike from Sell Your Service, and I help businesses build marketing funnels using WordPress websites. So like I said, today we are talking about email marketing. But first, let's get into a little bit of news. Now, as far as I've seen, nothing massive's happened except for WP Elevation taking on 3 new coaches. But other than that, does anyone have any news themselves or news in the WordPress space?
Quiet week, no?
It has been a
nothing to
quiet week,
share,
hasn't
yeah.
it? Yeah.
Guess we're in.
Yeah, I think not in WordPress space, but in the Google space, that with the Google AdWords changes, that now only the first 4 advertisements are shown, and the right sidebar is completely gone.
Is it just 4, is it? Just
Changing,
4
yeah.
in total? I didn't know that.
And that's changing the whole landscape because the prices of keywords are rising and rising. Is already proven by some companies. Yeah.
I wonder why they did it.
Okay, but also, I mean, but the small ones, they are switching off AdWords. So it makes it interesting again to do SEO. But on the other hand, I talked in another group this week with some people from USA and Canada, and they went to a customer, and they were complaining to them, yeah, but we are only on the 5th position in Google, and why are we paying you? And there came another company, and they said we are only in the 5th position, and then they went looking. Yeah, it's AdWords 1, 2, 3, 4, AdWords 5th. Yeah, that's your position. So that's number 1 spot in SEO. But the more Google puts above it, then you are already below the fold on a lot of screens.
Yeah, it's a very good point, that, isn't it? Because I think a lot of customers, they don't have the understanding, of why AdWords is not equal to organic rankings.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of other news. Sorry, Paul, go ahead.
No, it's Nathan. I was going to say there was one piece of news, WordPress related, and I'm going to make this up as I go along because I've read it, but I can't remember the name of the plugin.
I know exactly what you're going to say. Yeah.
WordPress repository, a hijacked plugin. It was discovered by Securi, I think. Might have been WordFence, I can't remember. And essentially, they had got access. What was the plugin? Anybody chime in? No. Anyway, this plugin, which was in the repository, was installing and overwriting core WordPress files. The intention, I don't think anybody quite knows yet, but obviously if it's overwriting core WordPress files and making calls to external command and control servers, that's not good. But it was spotted really quickly, and if you go to the Securi website, they have details of if you had downloaded it between this time and this time. Basically, you need to check yourself out. But I can't remember which plugin it was.
Was it the custom content type manager plugin you posted about this week?
I think that was it.
That's the one.
Because I just opened it this morning, your post.
Yep.
And I read it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So beware. I mean, it raises an interesting question because in the future, how do we monitor this? Because essentially the WordPress repository is a bunch of people claiming to be good actors. and we only need a few bad actors with a few, or just careless people, or people who employ a bunch of staff, and then one of them gets hacked off and clears off with the username and password for the repository version of the code, if you like. It's going to be really difficult. I know that on the Drupal side of things, I know that's not why we're here, but the Drupal side of things, there's a core security team who check the modules, and you frequently get emails from the Drupal security team to say that this is critical, this needs to be fixed, this needs to be fixed. So it's not a third-party company, it's like the Drupal community taking care of itself, and I wonder if we need something perhaps a little bit more like that.
Okay.
I think it's, yeah, I mean, it's kind of it almost strikes me as like Apple versus Android apps, you know?
Yeah.
And there's pros and cons to both of them, I guess.
It's nice to know that people like Securi, though, are there watching you back, and it's going to happen. It's inevitable, and probably it'll happen more and more over time. But to me, it just makes me think, when I install plugins, especially if it's from just straight off the WordPress repository, I am probably going to be a little bit more diligent. If it's if it's been installed 3 times and it's only been tested up to WordPress 2.1. Something that I'm going to be a little bit more careful, and it will make me probably side towards paid plugins a little bit more. And I guess if somebody is being paid for their work, they're going to update their code a little bit more carefully, perhaps. I don't know.
But I think in the repository, the change they also made, that now they show how many plugins are really active.
That's right.
That's already a great change.
Yep.
And also talking plugins, then maybe the big news is the AMP, that the new format for post on mobile.
Yep.
So I didn't work it out yet, but I'm following it, and it seems.
I've heard mixed reviews from people at the moment, and it's understandable. It's first generation, so that's fine. But I have heard some mixed reviews that at the moment it's not so cutting edge that it's going to take over just yet.
Is this the one that's in in GitHub? It's written by Automatic, but it's in GitHub.
Yes. Yeah.
No, I haven't tried it. I'm always a little bit nervous with things. I mean, that's potential is amazing, but I'm not going to try it for a while. I don't think. I'll let other people try that one out.
There's also the new Facebook have partnered with Automatic to create the Instant Articles plugin.
Mm-hmm.
You guys seen this? So that any content you post on your site is, to be honest, I haven't tested it. I haven't seen it. I don't really know a massive amount about it, but it looks again more and more like content is going to be read through social platforms, and the website is one of the methods for delivering that.
And which business wouldn't want that? Which business wouldn't want immediately? You click update, you click save on the post, and it's immediately gone to Facebook. I just think that sort of stuff's a no-brainer for 80% of all my customers would want that immediately. So that's great.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because like we're going to be talking about today with building an email list. A lot of building an email list, and it is moving away from the current traditional model of you drive traffic back to the website. So I don't know if the instant articles are useful, because I know that Facebook has also got in lead ads, so you can have the form inside the actual news feed. So at some point maybe those become the same thing. But that's.
Have you played with those lead ads then?
Yeah, I've been doing a little bit of testing and stuff and playing around with.
I'm hearing that from a lot of people that they feel that the leads aren't very well qualified, and it just throws a bunch of quite random people at you.
It does, but lead qualification is a weird thing, because you can say, oh well, it's because there's only 2 form fills that you need to collect. I mean, we're kind of getting into the topic now, but to collect data for an email, you could say, oh well, we only need a name and an email address. And they say, oh well, it's not very well qualified. That to me is half of the responsibility of whoever set up the audience in the first place. Like, if you're targeting a very specific market, you are less likely to get bad quality leads. And of course, if you ask for more form fills, but I don't see how having someone come to the website and filling out a form, or having them fill it out in Facebook, I don't understand how that would lower the quality of a lead, personally.
Do you when Facebook sends the data your way, do they send a bunch of other stuff as well? So if they just I don't know how it works exactly, but do you get their? Can you request their age and their country and all of those kind of things?
You get a spreadsheet basically. You can. There are some. We're also just looking at Connect.io, which I think.
Oh, I missed the boat on that
Charlie,
one.
yeah. No, you can still go for it. You can
I
still
just
go
wanted the lifetime and I missed it.
No, the lifetime one's still available.
Really? Okay.
I was having a look yesterday; it was still available. But yeah, that's currently what we're looking at. So we'll see. I'm still a big fan of the advert and clicking through to the website. But if we get lead ads right, then we might go for it. But anyway, this week we are. Is that it for news, everyone? Any other wins or anything?
Nope, all good.
Cool. All right, let's crack on. This week we are talking about building an email list. Now, guys, tell me, before we kick off, why don't we, because I think we've got a range of experiences on building email lists and particularly building them for your customers and with a WordPress website. So, Wendy, why don't you start us off on your experience so far with building email lists?
Well, it's very easy. It's 0.
Okay, good. Easy peasy. But it's something you'd like to look at?
Yeah, I would like to learn it. My clients are Dutch, and Dutch is not a different language, and I would like to get an email list going in Dutch for Dutch clients, because I noticed that a lot of my clients don't read English very well, don't view English videos. So I tried testing with sending articles from interesting feeds to my clients, and they just don't read it because they don't want to read it in English. And I haven't taken the time to set up my own email mails.
Cool. Okay. So at the start, that's cool. Paul, what about yourself?
Yeah, I manage a few email lists for some customers with about thousands. Sorry, guys, something happened here. And I'm for myself trying with the active campaign to do some more lead automation, but it's slowly, and I think also because I also have 2 markets. I also have another company going for the Dutch market, and there we are now testing some forms on to get people to sign up. But it's very hard to get people to sign up, and I think that also has to do with Dutch mentality, because it's Dutch information, but they are more hard to sign up for things than what I see on USA or international websites.
But isn't it mainly because there are so much more people speaking English than there are people speaking Dutch?
I think so.
Yeah, it's a good
point. The audience is much bigger in English speaking.
Yeah. Nathan, what about yourself?
Well, I've a range of experience. I wouldn't say it's particularly deep or broad, but I've used quite a few services in the past. I've used Aweber quite a lot with limited success, and I've kind of abandoned using Aweber actually. MailChimp was something that I used incessantly for about the last 3 or 4 years, and I've recently moved everything over to Active Campaign for my own things because of its automation. But I have to say I don't really make a great deal of use of it. I think it can do a lot more than I'm pushing it to do. But also I manage quite a lot of people's lists, some of them quite large, 50, 60,000. But I run that off my own product, which is less feature rich than Active Campaign. So I've got a range of experiences, but I think, Mike, you're probably the man when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Obviously, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all knew that. No, I think so. Yeah, email marketing is kind of 50% of what I do and what I'm good at. It's kind of like, I don't know, having that conversation. I think a lot of people, I've often equated it to when you see someone at a bar and you want to go and have a conversation with them, that's kind of the website and driving the traffic to them and having this stuff to say. But then the email marketing afterwards is keeping up that conversation and building that relationship. And what I find funny is that I think a lot of people treat email lists kind of like, because we've got a couple of customers who maybe have a list of, I don't know, 10, 20,000, something like that, 13,000 I think at last count, like that we regularly emailed. And they kind of think, oh, we've got a really big list. I'm like, you're not generating any profit or revenue from it. So it's kind of worthless in many respects. Like, having a list of 300 people that regularly buys from you. So half of it to me is as much setting it up, and that's the first hurdle to get over, and then the second hurdle is actually sending enough stuff to them so that that list becomes worthwhile. But for this one, we are focusing on building an email list. I'm going to open this up. How have you guys been building the email lists for your own business? We'll go on to customers in a bit because I think that's going to be slightly different. But for your own businesses, how are you building email lists? How do you collect email addresses?
I used Troy's template. I should probably say, if anybody's watching this and doesn't know who we are, we've kind of all met on a business course, I suppose, primarily focused with WordPress called WP Elevation, run by an Australian chap called Troy Dean, who is pretty awesome actually. And he came up with this suggestion, which I followed pretty formulaically, with ActiveCampaign. So I've basically got forms dotted around on my website for particular purposes, and I use the traditional I'm giving away something for free, and it's been quite successful for me actually. I've definitely managed to gain more people per week, per month, than I ever have before. My problem is then what to do with them. So essentially, I've put WordPress forms on my website through Gravity Forms, and I pay for the mid-tier pricing on Gravity Forms, which allows me to link it into ActiveCampaign. And then ActiveCampaign will immediately, as soon as somebody comes into that list, it will trigger whatever set of things you want to happen afterwards. It could be put them into a list and send them emails on this schedule, wait 3 days, send this, wait 3 days, send that. Or you could simply just put them in a list and leave them there and respond to them as and when you feel fit. That's what I'm doing, and it's been really good and trivially easy to do with Gravity Forms and ActiveCampaign.
Paul, Wendy?
Well, for my own, I started out using MailChimp, and I just made a list in spreadsheets with my my customers, all of my customers that has ever been a customer, and I sent them an email last year, and they were very surprised. I sent them an email, and I did get some recurring revenue with update service and things that so I was quite surprised for sending 300 people an email and getting about 65 people to respond.
Wow.
That's great. That's really good.
But that's what happens if you send one email a year.
Yep.
And I was not so happy with MailChimp, so I tried. I use it for a client. I use MailPoet, which is in the WordPress dashboard, and I use that for clients because it is in the dashboard. And my clients are very confused if they have to use two different dashboards, and MailPoet is working so good for them. And I set it up with usually with a Gmail account, so they don't have to use a PHP mailer. And it works very fine, and it's very easy. And you can do automation in MailPoet. So for me, that is enough for now. But I want to upscale. So something like ActiveCampaign is a thing I would like to try, and I would like to see how it works. There is one problem. I put it also in the Facebook group, and that is a credit card thing. In Holland, credit cards are not regular, and it's quite hard to get one from the bank because I have been a small business and I don't earn enough to get a credit card. So there are a lot of things and a lot of services I can buy because they don't do PayPal.
Do you have the equivalent? Because I think a lot of Americans call all types of cards credit cards. Now, in the UK, we have the difference between credit cards and debit cards, which credit cards, obviously, it's kind of like a loan on a card, but a debit card is just access. You should, I don't know what it's like in the rest of Europe, I don't know what it's like, but debit cards should be able to be used as well.
Yeah, banks in Holland don't have them.
Really?
So I have a Skrill card now.
Okay.
But I have to deposit money on my card, and that is a thing too, because if it is a recurring payment, the service you are buying from doesn't want you to have a limited card.
That's
enough.
fascinating, though. That's really a peculiarity, isn't it? That I just assumed, incorrectly as it seems, that every country had debit and credit cards. And when I saw your post, I assumed that you had just opted in your life not to have a credit card or any kind of card, whereas now you're saying Dutch people generally don't have them. That's really interesting, and that must.
I just can't get one because I
Wow.
don't earn enough to get
see.
a credit card from my bank.
Okay. In the UK, you need to earn less than nothing to get these cards. You just walk into a bank and say, "Can I have 3?" and they'll gladly give you 3. Because then you'll be
maybe
indebted to them.
I could just ask for a Visa card or a MasterCard. I don't know. I could apply via website or something, but because I don't earn a lot of money, I don't want to get myself in the seduction to spend a lot of money I don't have. There is a thing for me.
Wendy, can I ask, this Mail Poet that you've just mentioned that sits in the WordPress, is it a premium plugin? Do you pay anything for that?
It is free, up to 2,000 subscribers, which most of my customers never ever reach.
Yep.
So that is good. I had one customer who went over 2,000, and they switched to a Dutch email provider because they wanted to track more information about clicking and where the people were than MailPoet provides.
And do you run into? You said you hooked it up through Gmail. Do you just SMTP? Do you not? I know that Gmail limit you to 200 emails a day. Do they not? Do your clients run foul of that, and it suddenly stops at 200?
Yeah, but that's not a problem because
that's okay.
there are small. They just have small lists.
Okay.
Paul, how about yourself? What are you using to source your email addresses?
Yeah, to source email addresses, I put some forms on the website with some books and I hoped interesting information. But as said, at this moment I don't see traction from that yet, so I have to rethink. And I use Thrive leads for the capture forms. So
what forms?
Thrive leads.
Is that THR?
Yeah.
Yeah, Thrive themes. Yeah, they do it. They're funnel-specific websites, right?
Yeah, no, I don't
WordPress
use their themes, and they also have a page builder. I also don't use their page builder. We only use their lead system.
Yep.
Because they have a lot of cool options, and in my opinion, better than the guys from Sumo. What's the name again?
SumoMe. Yeah.
SumoMe.
Yeah, I think it's, a lot of it's horses for courses. I mean, funnily enough, we touched on this on a webinar a couple of days ago. I think a lot of people get caught up in the hype of the new plugin or theme or system or whatever. By sticking with one thing and learning how that works and starting to get, all of these are going to get results. Every single one of these plugins or methods or ways of doing it or whatever is going to get results. And I think a lot of people get sucked into saying, okay, well, I spent $90 on a plugin. It's going to get me all these incredible results. It's going to start generating me these crazy amount of leads. And then because it doesn't work, they think, oh, okay, well, I'll try this plugin instead, and I'll try this plugin instead, or I'll try this theme, or I'll, upgrade Gravity Forms or whatever. And a lot of it boils down to the fact that, one, you're probably not getting enough traffic to the website, or at least the right traffic to the website. And two, what you're offering in exchange for that email address, it's just not worth, in their opinion, that transaction, that value, we get customers. I use OptinMonster. I use OptinMonster for almost everything, for a number of reasons, but also because I can manage everything from a single pane of glass. And when customers say, oh, this one isn't working, we've heard this, this plugin works really well. I'm like, they all do the same thing. They all pretty much do the same thing. What we need to think of is the strategy that's going to start getting the emails to sign up in the first place,
Have you found, Mike, that there's a kind of like a golden formula, something which consistently works better than other things. I mean, my experience with this is I try positioning the form in different places. I might change the wording a little bit, put it on the sidebar, put it at the top, try it in various places on different pages. But I've not been that careful with analysing what I'm doing. I just noticed, okay, that seems to be working. Is there something which I don't know, a phrase or a position or a colour or a font or
I mean, if we did have this kind of formula, I would be you wouldn't be having this conversation with me. We would be having this conversation with my VA. But no, there is something that does work, and it's a very simple sentence, and all it is is if you're serious about X, then you need to see Y. So if you're serious about blank, then you need to see this. And the reason that works is because right at the start, I was like, right, I'm going to get opt-in monster, and there's going to be an opt-in form everywhere. I had them at the bottom, at the top, in the sidebar. I had the pop-up screen, and I had the light boxes in the middle that popped up. And they just didn't sort of convert. They did okay. I thought, okay, well, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to write a blog post, and admittedly, I was only publishing one a month at this point, but now I've kind of got it down to a formula where I can publish one a week like this. And let's say I publish a blog post on search engine optimization, right? That the fundamentals of search engine optimization. And after they read that blog post, all the way through, I will be mentioning, hey, look, if you're serious about SEO for your website, you need to download our SEO guide. If you're serious about our SEO for your website, if you're serious about driving more traffic, if you're serious about climbing the ranks on Google, you need to download our SEO guide. And what it meant is that I only had to have one offer. And another reason why I like opt-in monster is I can change what opt-in is displayed per category or whatever. So if I'm writing specifically on traffic and SEO, it will only show the SEO guide, and I can say specifically, hey, look, if you're serious about ... you need to download our guide. Now, the reason that started to work is that all I had to do was write blog content and share that out. And now it's got to the point where I can guarantee at least 10 lead signups for every blog post that I share that's new per week, and I can pretty much guarantee at least $20 to $50 worth of revenue coming through from the subsequent automation, which isn't massive, but it means that I'm now getting paid for the blog post. And all it's boiled down to is asking, if you're serious about X, the subject of whatever you're reading about, then you need to see Y. You need to see this next thing.
That's really cool, because that's a simple approach, isn't it? And not one that I would have come up with. So that's fantastic. Thank you for that. I should go and do that now.
But also I noticed that you are offering something extra, because when you have a blog post, people are reading it because they're interested, and you are offering something extra in addition to what they are already reading. So a form in a sidebar, download our, I don't know, whatever. You are not offering something extra. You're just offering something, and you don't know if they are, if that's what they want. Until the last year, I had a WordPress cheat sheet. I made it, and it did two things. It showed you how to make a post, how to make a page, and how to add an image. And that was it. And people downloaded it like crazy, because that was what my clients were looking for. My best read post is how to log in.
Yeah.
Nice. I am so guilty of writing blog posts that I want to read. In other words, I mean, I'm really interested in internet security and things like that, and I end up writing a lot about these kind of things, and I never ever spend the time thinking, what do other people need? And that is a great example. How to log in, how to write a post, how to save an image. Perfect. Really straightforward. All of us could do that really straightforwardly and within minutes, and I've never done it.
I think the funny thing is when we talk about building an email list, we assume that we're trying to give something away that's so awesome, or that it's in anticipation of something that's so mind-blowing that we ourselves would be impressed with it, right?
Yeah.
There's no way that I would have the audacity to write a blog post on how to log in, because it's common knowledge, everyone knows that, and yet we have proof now that is what people want to read. What people want to read is the results that are pertinent and relative to what they are experiencing. We know infinitely more than they do. And a big problem I think a lot of people come up against is they'll say, okay, well, I've written this blog post on how to log in or change the theme or anything like that, or how to reset my password, simple stuff like that we would take for granted, but to them is so useful. That same content that you would almost feel guilty about publishing is exactly what you should be using as your lead magnet to offer them.
I went to a sort of meeting place not far from where I live a couple of months ago, and we were talking. There was a lot of people in the room, and it was nothing to do with WordPress particularly. It was about coding in general, and I didn't realize the sort of level that was in the room, and so it started off at a fairly high level, and then quite quickly the conversation descended, well, that's the wrong word, it moved to how to style buttons and things like that, and an awful lot of people in the room, we talked about it for about 30 minutes, which was half of the time allocated, and it was about adding classes, just like Simon Kelly was on about the other day, actually. And it just suddenly occurred to me now, actually, I should have been writing that blog post, how to style a button, but I don't, and I should, so there you go.
No, I think it's a great point. I think we often do. I think we're all guilty of thinking, well, I'm really like this, and this is something I want to talk about, but it's not all we should really be writing about. But this then goes, again, for building the list, and then what you should be sending people is fundamental stuff, and funnily enough, even the experts will still pick up pieces that are, quite basic.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But also, what you're kind of trying to do when you build your list is you want to build a list of people that are potentially going to buy from you or be interested to hear from you. If you're writing a stuff that's interesting to you, all you're going to be doing is attracting people at the same level as you. They probably aren't your customers. They can probably do the stuff already. Whereas if you write and offer stuff to people who you want to buy, and it sounds really obvious, but you need to that's the kind of qualification process, because you go, okay, it's very, very basic. Maybe 90 people out of 100 will go, that's not for me. But the 10 people who do sign up, that should be an indication that they are interested in what you've got to say and that you need to follow that through,
Yeah, that's exactly my mistake. I always write at the level that I want to read at, which I think my customers don't need me if they can read at that level.
Exactly.
Yeah, what an idiot.
We like reading your posts.
No, thank you. They're not very good.
Yeah. No, but that's also what I wanted to say, is that had to talk about, okay, log in and log out and how to make a post. That is maybe for our target group interesting, but any high level or customizing buttons or thing I would never want to talk about. But it's hard to nowadays find a subject that you can really get into the head of your customer, because everything is being talked about. And
well, this is where it becomes, relationship specific. Yeah. I'm well aware that there are billions of articles on how to build, funnels and how to email market and how to turn your WordPress website into a marketing funnel and stuff like that. But I know that there are 350 odd people on my list who are specifically interested in building a WordPress marketing funnel using MailChimp. I know that there are about 400 who want to do it with ActiveCampaign. So by getting more specific because of what I've offered them in the first place, that means that you're right, there is loads of stuff out there, but I'm sending them my stuff. They're not going out and discovering the 10 articles. I'm showing them the one article that would be relative to them,
So with your Opt-in Monster plugin, let's say that you write a blog post and it mentions or features ActiveCampaign. Do you then put them on a, I don't know, let's, for want of a better word, an ActiveCampaign list, and then you write an article which mentions MailChimp and how to use that. They go on the MailChimp list. So you would then target ActiveCampaign things in the future to that particular. Yeah, good. I like it.
I mean, I'll be honest, it's not simple. And when we're really starting out building an email list, the only thing that, in my experience, you need to work out is that the physical process and structure works. When they sign up, are they added to a list? That's it. That's honestly all that you need to worry about for the time being, because it can get very, 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 very complex. And then maybe you might want to start introducing grouping or tagging or whatever the CRM is that you use, because you want to make sure that data is clean and it's relative and it's active. And then you might want to start saying, okay, well, maybe I need to start introducing some automation. And then you might want to start introducing, we used to call it surgical marketing, but I think they call it something else now, response funnels, I think they call them. So when we talk about starting to build your email list, and bearing in mind a lot of this is going to be rocket science to customers, which is why I think so much of it needs to be managed by us. We need to say, okay, I'm going to help set this up, and for a fee I'm going to maintain that list for you. That is hard work. Having people come in, and occasionally, I still get it now, I still have people say, hey Mike, I signed up but we didn't receive anything, and it's because I didn't click the right box or something on Gravity Forms. That management takes time. That's the bit that's hard, because then you can start becoming more focused.
How do you go about getting your clients, MailChimp or ActiveCampaign? Do you encourage them to have an account, or do you do it all from yours and kind of lock them into your ecosystem, or do you?
That's a good point. No, they do. Typically, I get them to have their own account,
and
then I'll go back and do the APIs and stuff. So they'll pay per month. They'll take care of that.
Okay, so they pay MailChimp, but then they pay you a retainer. They give you the username and password and access, and then you maintain the list, curate it, and keep it bobbling over.
Yeah, I know that. I don't know what you guys, if you might be able to help me. It's been a while since I've used Campaign Monitor and ActiveCampaign, but I know that Agile CRM and a couple other apps have teams. So from my master MailChimp account, I can actually manage any number of other MailChimp accounts. Is that right for other CRMs?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, Campaign Monitor has that also. I use Campaign Monitor. Actually preferable to MailChimp. I even had customers who had Campaign Monitor, went to MailChimp, and after a while asked, can I come back to Campaign Monitor? And their reasoning was because of the mail deliverability quality that they said. They had a lot of test mails in their system, test email addresses, and that with MailChimp they didn't arrive, and with Campaign Monitor they arrived. So
I hate that about MailChimp. When I had a discussion lately with a client's hosting company, because they said I had to use MailChimp for their email. They have 400 something subscribers, and I wanted to use their Exchange account because they have an Exchange account with their hosting provider, and they now send their email newsletter via their Outlook account. You just click all the names and then they send the emails. And I set up MailPoet for them, and I wanted to use their Exchange account as a SMTP server to send the emails. And the host was pushing me to use MailChimp, so I tried it. But the funny thing is, with MailChimp, all the mails finish up in the spam or the commercial inbox. And with the Exchange server, they just end up in the inbox where I want them. So MailChimp is not sending the emails where I want to have them, even if the from email address is the same when I send them from the regular email to.
Okay. I want to say that as long your list is like 400, it's maybe still okay to go to the Exchange server of your customer, but it is very risky because if somebody would remark you as spam, then that domain is suddenly a spam domain, and then also the normal emails of that customer are blocked and go into spam. So it's a risky strategy if you have a big list, but I think with 400 it will not happen that fast. That's why we always advise take an external service like MailChimp or Campaign Monitor or Active Monitor, because then it goes over their servers, and it's their job, and that's also where they get paid for, to keep their servers clean and that the mail arrive. And as I noticed that MailChimp is not that good at it as like Campaign Monitor does it.
Okay, that's good to know.
Sorry, Nathan.
No, I was just going to say exactly the same thing. For transactional emails, I was using Mandrill. We talked about this in the last podcast, and then I've moved everything over to SendGrid. I just use SMTP. I don't use their API. But I was going to say, Wendy, I wonder if there's I've never used one, but I wonder if there's a WordPress SMTP plugin which would allow you to, I don't know, get straight into MailChimp as opposed to going through their Exchange server? Because I would agree with Paul. You probably don't want to use that if the list is going to grow and they're sending 400 in a matter of minutes. Because if any of those get spammed, then your IP address will be potentially blacklisted, and then any mail emanating from that IP address, which could be multiple domains if you're on shared hosting, could be blacklisted. And I've had this. It's not nice to undo.
I had it with my Gmail account.
Yeah.
That is horrible.
Mm.
But that's why I usually use a specific Gmail account to send emails from MailPoet, because that is perfect. It's a Gmail account. It's specifically for sending the emails from the website, and it usually works fine.
I think because I mean, if you really boiled it down, this is why it's building an email list and using an email list are two extremely different things. If you wanted to build an email list, I remember, like proper old school, when we would just have an Excel spreadsheet, and once a day you'd send out like 20, 30 emails to your customers or whatever, just from Outlook, or if you had Exchange, like with your laptop and whatever, you could just set a reminder or delay sending them. Building an email list, it doesn't matter personally. I don't think it matters where you store that, because eventually you're going to have to upgrade to whatever it is. If you want to build an email list and right at the moment, all I'm going to be able to do is, because I've only got 20 email addresses, is just keep them in a spreadsheet. And then at some point you decide to go, okay, well, I'm going to let Google handle this. And then at some point you go, okay, well, I'm going to start experimenting with ActiveCampaign and whatever. We've moved over to SharpSpring for a CRM system, and everyone was raving about it and said, yeah, it's fantastic, it does all this thing. The sales guys obviously raved about it, and it's absolute horseshit. Like, we seriously, we pay through the nose for this thing. It's costing us like close to $1,500 a day, a month. Sorry, a day would be too much. A month. And it just doesn't get it. The stuff goes into spam. The email list forms don't sync properly. The data becomes unhygienic. I don't know how they're managing that. So, when you scale it back, there are other areas that do and don't work. But then that's got nothing to do with how we're building the list in the first place. How you're building the list is really going to boil down to, does the person trust that you're going to deliver something? Because you mentioned, guys, that the Dutch people might be unused to this way of collecting email addresses. And I think particularly in America and Australia and England, we take that for granted. I've noticed in England, it's getting better, but it's still quite difficult to convert people from traffic into a lead or a subscriber. But I don't know whether that's a cultural thing. But again, that's got nothing to do with the tools that you use. Using MailChimp or ActiveCampaign or Excel is not going to change that. It's not like I can go, hey, give me your email address. I promise you it'll be kept safe. Who cares? That's irrelevant to them.
I think you make a good point. The primary thing to get the customer through is just setting it up in the first place, isn't it? And any of these services will hopefully offer a fairly seamless approach. I know that ActiveCampaign, as an example, there's just a button you click and it gives you the HTML for a form. They've got a plugin and what have you as well. And I think most of these services do make it trivially easy to gather, but the big thing is actually getting the names on the list, and I'm wondering, Mike, what's or any of you, in fact, what have you offered that's been successful as a way of getting the email in exchange for something? I mean, I've gone down the avenue of free ebooks, nothing. Just please sign up because, please. And I'm kind of thinking there's got to be a fresh approach to this. There's got to be something new that people have tried that has worked before. But anybody want to chip in on that?
Wendy, Paul, what have you guys offered?
I did a tricky thing a few months ago. I sent all my clients a WhatsApp message via my phone with a link to a post with a sign-up form. And I think with the message was, I think this would be so helpful for you. And it worked very, very good.
It's very, very social, very kind of, well, you're talking to people that know you, presumably, and know who you are. And
Yeah, that was my clients, the people that already know me. I discovered that for me, the best clients and the best conversion are with people who know me and want to be a client with
Mm,
me.
mm.
And so it's always a personal thing. It's always personal.
That's a good point. What about yourself, Paul?
Yeah, I've never used WhatsApp for that, so I'm still thinking about that. That's yeah, I guess that because you know the people so well, it will work. Yeah, we have the books with 101 best ways of this and
Yep.
that kind of, and we translated them to Dutch, and I have a copywriter doing that, so I think it's all good info, but
I mean,
Can
but
I
we
say
maybe have
something
to
about
sharpen
that?
the info, or still talk in a different language. That's we are not. We still need to talk to them how to log in, log out language, and that's,
yeah.
I found out something. I did an e-course about half a year ago, and it was write your e-course in 3 days. So it was an e-course to make an e-course, and
Genius.
the the thing she said, one of the things that kept with me, and I still use it for everything I do, for all my emails, for my regular emails also, is she says you only have to explain or take your customer the next step. You don't have to do everything. You just have to take them the next step. And I think that is why I personally, I am I always think of myself as just a regular person. I am not very exceptional in my things I want or the things I do. My English is pretty good, so I do opt into a lot of English language lists, but otherwise I am not very different to my own customers, but I prefer the opt-ins where they offer 3 tips to get something.
Yeah, there's an enormous amount to be said for the whatever is being given away is immediately easy to consume and easy to understand. Like they can
And
get the
to
value of
you.
it. Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Is there a service? Because one of the big things that stops me doing this stuff is finding time to create this content that I would maybe give away for free, as a hook for the list, an ebook or whatever it might be. Is there a service which offers kind of white labeled stuff to give away?
we call that PLR.
Yeah.
These things exist, do they?
Yeah.
I've never used them. Never even tried to explore it. So
they exist. They do.
Yeah.
Oh, that is
throw some names out. Who would they be?
Off the top of my head, I use a guy called Sean Mize, but
Right.
I now have moved into the stage where I produce white labeled stuff.
Oh, so you do this?
I bought your set.
How's that for social proof,
We
guys?
should stop the podcast.
It didn't work.
I've made my sale. I'm not interested anymore. There we go.
And okay, so this stuff, I mean, not your stuff, Mike. We probably
Yeah.
You found it to be of dubious quality, have you? The reason you've gone to do it yourself is because you thought you would do a better job than.
Well, Paul, I don't know how you felt, but I felt a lot of it was hit and miss. And although they'd say it was white labeled, it ended up the language is so specific that it ends up only being used for the exact same market that the person was white labeling it for. We're actually doing a project now where we're white labeling technical sheets for my customers' sales partners, and that works very well again because it's specific. White labeling kind of works, I believe, if you can get it specific enough and get it in front of specific people. But sometimes, for example, all my stuff is designed for WordPress businesses to sell WordPress. That's all my stuff is white label for, so it's very specific. So I'd like to think that it works quite well. But there has been stuff that I've bought from like AppSumo and stuff where it's been very generic. So generic that it doesn't work, or too specific that it doesn't work,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll explore that then. I probably won't buy any, but I'll explore it.
But no,
I'll maybe come to you, Mike.
White
buy
labeling
yours.
is that. Well, at the moment I've got the one email delivered to your inbox, which is it's funny because this is two birds with one stone here. It's a lead magnet, so I'm building my list with it, and it delivers a white labeled email to your inbox every 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to upgrade, you can get a particular funnel that I have that's all the specific emails, when to send them, how to send them.
Mike?
I think Mike is.
And it works.
Sorry, Mike, you dropped out for about 5 seconds. You might want to say that again.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you, guys. Sorry, no, I was just saying how I've got a lead magnet that delivers a new email address, a new white labeled email to your inbox every 7 days. So that's actually the lead magnet that I use to generate my list. And then if they want to upsell that, they can buy 27 pre-written, emails and the copy and stuff to help sell email marketing automation and things like that, and all WordPress websites or whatever. And that works, but it's because it's so specific and it's to a specific audience. And funny enough, we have had questions about the language and stuff, but bits and pieces.
I did buy that set, 27 emails. I'm translating them, and I am to my own language, which is all girly, and things with things, whatever. But I will test them, and I will let you know how they work.
Let me know just how good they are. Fingers crossed.
I recently opted in with Frank Kern. Did you hear about him? I love his emails.
Well, talk to Troy about, because Troy went to a Frank Kern seminar and stuff. So yeah, Troy's a big fan of Frank.
He is extremely good. I didn't buy anything yet, but I am
he's got good emails.
That's another whole thing altogether, isn't it? The way you position yourself with your language. I would always respond to humour.
Yeah.
If something's genuinely funny, I will read it to the end.
Yeah.
Whereas if something's dry and pitchy, and in the horrible font, I'm gonna read none of it.
You read my emails then, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey guys, I just want to say time's up. We are.
Yes. Because we've all got stuff to do, so we will wrap it up. I think we started a little bit late. Very, very quickly, what are people up to this week?
I still want to get your sentence down. If you take X serious, then you should get Y, or that was the...
Yeah, if you're serious about blank result, you need to check out Y product. I use it for upselling as well. Nathan and Wendy, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm going to be working on a local solicitor's website this week with WordPress, and I'm going to be trying out W types, which I've had.
Oh, that's awesome!
Yeah, I mean, I've used it in all sorts of ways, but I'm going to be trying to push it a little bit this week and see what I can actually wrangle out of it.
Cool. Wendy, what are you up to this week?
I am going to explore hiring someone to do some jobs for me for the first time. Yay!
Excellent.
So I did all my development myself so far, and it is time to outsource.
Good stuff.
So that is awesome.
Cool.
Scary and awesome.
It's very scary, but no, you'll enjoy it. That's good. That's a good first step. Myself, I am actually pretty much spending most of my time building a new course that I'm putting together, and we're hoping to push out at the end of the month, to do with, funny enough, MailChimp and building a list.
I'm going to pitch something right at the end.
Yep, go for it.
I run a service called emaily.co.uk. I run it through Amazon's SES, which is their network of a simple email service, and it will push out emails, an infinite number of emails, for way less than you pay with MailChimp and Campaign Monitor. So if anybody's watching this and wants to hook up, you'd have to email me at, go to my website, pictureandword.co.uk. Find the contact form, and I can offer you really reliable email delivery for a really good price.
Cool. All right, thanks for that. Maybe we'll talk about that sometime because that sounds interesting. All right, guys, thank you very much. Anyone watching, remember to subscribe and like and do whatever. For anyone who has been on the podcast, I will be sending you the video and you can use it free for however you would like, as it is your podcast. In the meantime, I have been Mike with Nathan, Paul, and Wendy. Thanks very much, everyone. Cheers.
There you
Okay.
go.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye. I need to stop broadcast. Come on, Mike.